Okay, how you doing, everybody? Thanks for stopping by and joining us today for another Rollin Over the Hill right here on the Live to Roll channel. And thanks to all of you for being part of the Live to Roll family. I'd like to take this time to thank our sponsors, mobility professionals and urology professionals. They're a great and helpful group of experts that are very much part of our community and can help you with all your mobility rehab equipment as well as your urological needs. So a big thanks to them for sponsoring Live to Roll. And on today's show, we have two special guests that you all know. The founder of Live to Roll, Shawn Fluke, will be joining us. Also, Tom Conway, one of the co-hosts of Live to Roll Live and host of Gaming with T Fizzle. They'll be with us, and we'll be discussing their journey of aging with a disability from their perspective. Please make sure to include your questions, comments, and views in the chat, and don't forget to hit that like button. Hello, everyone. My name is Robert Soto. I'm a T12 spinal cord injury from a motorcycle racing accident 50 years ago. So let's get started and welcome my co-host, Bobby. How you doing?
Hey, Bob, what's going on? Thank you so much for that intro and opening. Uh, but I think you need to get a little more lively like Shawn does.
I was
You
gonna
get
say, I thought
and
that was good. I was like, man, I didn't know Bob could spin it so well. Like
oh,
you
he
were
spins
saying,
very
like
good. But
that
but
was.
still, I think you need to get like I love Shawn's, and I duplicated it on Tuesday, which was fun. So
I like your
I'm
own
Bobby
flavor.
Rohan.
I like your own flavor, Bob. Stick with
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
There
That's a good. You always have a nice, smooth intro for everything, and anytime you're doing anything, so it's cool. Keep it light.
Thanks.
Well, we can't make fun of you like some others.
Bobby
I'm
Rohan.
Bobby Rohan. I'm Bobby Rohan. I'm the C56 squad here in Southern California. You know me, but you also know Shawn. But Shawn, go ahead and introduce yourself and hand it over to Tom.
Yeah, I am Shawn Fluke. I am a C5, C6 quadriplegic from a snowboarding accident. I'm 20 years in and just hit my 40s a little bit ago, so I'm getting in my rolling
Aging.
over that hill.
40-20, early 20.
Yeah.
I'm Tom Conway. I'm a C6B quadriplegic for the last 26 years, going on 27. So it'll just be like 2 months. I'll have 27 years under my belt, and I'm 31 years of age. So I've been rocking the wheels for a hot minute, and most of my days on this planet Earth. And yeah, excited to talk about it. This is one of my favorite topics. I think probably one of the more important topics as medical technology gets better and those of us with disabilities are living longer. It's really important to address how we age with these disabilities and how we can best take care of ourselves to prolong our longevity as long as possible. So excited to get into it.
Absolutely. Let's start with you, Tom, because you were 4 years old, correct?
Yes, sir. 4 years old, August 29th,
4 years old.
1997.
Yeah, and so you were in the hospital how long?
6 months. I think I left at the end of January, or maybe somewhere in January. I missed my first semester of kindergarten, but then they got me in on the second semester, and because I was injured like 4 or 5 days before the school year was supposed to start. And yeah, I spent the first 6 months just in rehab, figuring things out, and then yeah, hopped out of the hospital and jumped back in school.
And then as a kid, a question, with, that aging piece and therapy, when I was in therapy, and I don't know if you had this, Bob or Shawn, I wanted to push my own chair and another thing I wanted to transfer. And on top of that, they kept saying, you got to protect your shoulders. You shouldn't push a chair because your shoulders. Everything was about my shoulders. And where it made me want to just be the opposite, push my chair, do my own transfers.
Yeah.
Did you get any of that, Tom, when you were in rehab? Obviously at 4, I don't know. Do you remember anything like that?
I do. Most of my first memories are of my rehabilitation and my experience in the hospital, and then following. And I do have a really good recollection of my experience. I was really lucky to have a great rehab team. My number one teammate, my mama, who really helped me rehabilitate in a very meaningful way. I was in a manual chair for the first couple of years with like a full-time school attendant and stuff. And the conversation was had about my shoulders and stuff, but it was more had about my independence and what I could maybe achieve outside of a manual chair. And they stuck me in a power chair pretty early. I think I was like 6 or 7 years old, and it really did open my world. It made me so much more independent at school, being able to zip around. I could socialize a lot easier, particularly like at recess and you know like recreation time and stuff. I had a lot more stability in my power chair too, which made operating at a desk and writing and doing my like daily activities and stuff a lot easier, just because I wasn't supporting myself constantly with my elbows and trying to keep my balance. Like my arms were free to do what I needed to do, and I could kind of maintain my core stability in my power chair a lot easier. I wasn't really given a bucket seat or anything like that. Like I was sitting in a 90-degree angle in my manual chair, and that was really not to my advantage. Um, I had better DMEs and like ATPs and like wheelchair people that were maybe guiding me, my mom better. I maybe could have been as successful in a manual chair and just still like gotten around as easily, but um, no, I got stuck in a power chair pretty early, and I'm not mad at it. I love my power chair. I had a manual chair for a number of years, and I would go out in it regularly and push, and we would always take it over to my cousin's house and friends and family that had not accessible houses that we could easily pull me up a couple steps.
Mm.
Um, Sometimes we bring a ramp, and I'd gain access to my electric chair too.
Yeah.
But for a long time, I didn't really think about aging with disability. I mean, obviously nobody really does until you start to feel it and experience it. But I don't know if we just thought too much. Like I was just growing up, like my brother and sister. I was growing up just like anybody else. We were tackling.
Okay. Yeah. No kid
tack-
thinks about the aging process, and this could
Yeah,
happen to me.
there's not a plan for, oh, I'm going to worry
Yeah.
about this when I get,
Yeah.
just
There's
do what you gotta do.
no yellow caution tape that comes through our mind
Yeah,
that says
yeah.
this is not a good idea. We just do it, right?
You
the
try
first big
a
thing
certain
that happened.
transfer, and if you could do it, you do it.
See, I didn't even do my first transfer until I was like 16 or 17 years old. Like I always had somebody at the house that just help me transfer,
Yeah.
whether it was mom or dad, or as my brother got older, my brother Nick, like parents would go out of town and Nick and Emma would just help me, and they were just always kind of able to. Everything changed when I became a teenager. One, I hit puberty, so my body started to change a lot, and my disability started to change as a result of my body changing, namely my bladder. I started having really chronic, intense infections and difficulty kind of maintaining that. And I just intermittent cathed forever, for years and years and years through my urethra. And then my body started growing and changing. My prostate started growing. I had started having difficulty straight cathing through my urethra. I turns out I needed a different kind of catheter. I needed a curb tip catheter, a coude tip, is what they call
Yeah.
it. I had
Yeah.
pediatric doctors and stuff, and nobody had any idea what was going on with it and what the solution was. And then I got a adult doctor, and he was like, "Oh, this is what you need." I also had this thing. It was called a neurogenic.
That is strange. That is really strange. That must have been frustrating because you're getting probably nasty distro as you're trying to pee without a cuvee. And
One time I was dysreflexic. I hadn't cathed in 12 hours because we couldn't get a catheter in. My head was exploding. I thought I was going to die. I thought I was going to stroke out. They got me to the ER. My blood pressure was like 220 over 150. Like it was insane. They were able to shove a cath in there through whatever means they were able to. And it was a Foley, so I kept it in there for a couple days. And they moved me from Oakland Children's Hospital to UCSF. And the urologist there, Dr. Baskin, like, thank God for Dr. Baskin. He knew what was up. He gave me the right catheter, but he also told me, he was like, bro, you got a neurogenic bladder. You need to fix this. And he was like, the only way to do it is through abdominal surgery and pretty intensive surgery. And they did. They fixed my bladder. They made it bigger. And he was really the first one to start having a conversation with me. Him and my physiatrist, this woman, her name was Dr. Amy Hutro, and she was a small person. She had dwarfism, but she had a super loud personality and really awesome and really smart. And she was like, "So, I got some stuff I want to talk to you about. It's some adult stuff." She's like, "I want to talk to you about sex. I want to talk to you about your body changing." She was like, "Do you want your mom in the room or do you want to kick her out?" I was like, "Let's kick her out." And we kicked out my mom, and she talked to me. She talked to me about my body and changing and my adulthood and sex and anything and everything in between. And it was really awesome. It was really cool to have a doctor who, one, talked to me like an adult, painted the picture of reality for me, and was kind of on my side for a couple of years and helping me learn and navigate um, aging and growing up with as a quadriplegic. Um, and yeah, that was awesome. I had to educate myself a lot, and but it was really cool to have a medical professional who was a physiatrist who was also on my team and really open to like educating me and talking very transparently about this, about how to go about it and how I can best take care of myself. And so that was like kind of my first real conversations and encountering like aging with disability. And then I moved out. I worked really hard on transferring and feeding myself and getting water for myself and picking things up off the ground. And I kind of had this checklist of like, all right, this is what I got to be able to do in order to survive on my own. And I achieved all that, and I learned and I figured it all out. And then I did move out, and
What
I
let
kind
me
of went,
stop you there for a second, Tom, and just say, I know on this show we say a lot about aging. We're like, oh, you think old, but really even aging with our disability. And here you were, a kid to age to
Yeah.
teenager to adulthood as a spinal cord. We don't talk about that much, and it's not very well, very on the scene to bring that up to light here. And most of us would never understand, and something that you went through. It's another one of those things we can't fathom, unless you live it, and you lived it. And you know, did you fall into the ups and downs when you were going through this, as not like, oh, I can't ride the bike, and the some of the things that kids go through, or did you just go with the flow, like you do when, like I did when I was 17, so young, but it was like, okay, let's
Well, yeah,
just,
we consider that young. We say you got hurt when you're 17 young, 19 young, and here's Tom. He's 4 or 5 years old. I mean,
yeah.
uh, so
it
it's
was
amazing.
it was hard. It was unique. I did get really severely depressed when I was like 14, 15 years old. Kind of scary depression, like borderline suicidal depression. It was really intense and really scary, and it was reality hitting me. It was adulthood hitting me. Like all of my friends were talking about college, and they were dating, and they were partying on the weekends at whoever's house. The parents weren't around. I was this square nerd virgin in a wheelchair with like zero prospect on the horizon, and also like I wasn't really sure what my adult life was gonna look like. Like I was asking those questions. I'm like, what can I even move out? I was like, am I gonna be taken care of by my parents for the rest of my life? Like, am I gonna be able to go to college? Like, what is that gonna look like for me? Am I ever gonna be able to date or have sex or,
and
like live life?
and
And it was scary. Hard.
did you go to sleepovers and have a best friend,
I did. I had a pretty good social life. My mom, shout out my parents, like they would drop me off, and my mom would show up real early and help me cath in the morning and stuff. And we kind of did it like the best we could and managed it. There was a couple times where I did sleep over and like I peed myself during the night and stuff like that, and it was super embarrassing and pretty hard. But I had good friends and people that were pretty understanding and
Mhm.
didn't make too big a deal out of it. I did hide a lot of my disability stuff. Like I
Yeah.
always had to go in cath in the middle of the day, like go to the nurse's office and like do kind of abnormal things at school. And sometimes kids would ask questions, and I just have some medical stuff I need help with that the nurse has to help me with and stuff. I just kind of dance around it until I had one friend, um, my best bud growing up, and he didn't know it all. Like one time, he like saw catheters in my room and just like medical supplies and stuff, and we talked about it. We had a conversation. I used to be a lot more shy too when I was growing up.
Did you
Um,
make him try it? Try to cath yourself.
Yeah, yeah,
No, well,
yeah,
I mean, it's just embarrassing. I like explained to him, he was like, "You got a what now?" He's like, you
yeah.
gotta shove that where?"
Here,
And
try it. Try it, dude.
you need help from your mom, you need help from your like from the nurse. Like that's kind of crazy. Like, but it was all met with pretty open mind and kindness and love, and I'm really grateful for that. Um,
But you didn't know any
and
different. I mean, that was what you did. I mean, that was what you needed and all that,
I
right?
mean, I had a brother who was a year older than me, and
Hmm.
I love my bro. Kind of compared myself to his adolescence growing up there, just because I looked up to him and he was the example I had in front of me, and then I had my friends who were all living their best able-bodied lives, and then there was me. And I don't know, I did compare myself, like especially as I got older, like
Okay.
it was
Yeah.
impossible not to, because I would see how everybody else was living and what they were doing, and then I would kind of compare myself and what I was doing. And I was a square, like I was a nerd, like I was always really into studying and nerdy stuff and my video games. And I did socialize, and my best friend, he lived close to me, so I would always roll to his house and we'd hang out. But especially in high school, like I was just kind of a nerd. I had my nerdy friends. I kept to myself a lot. I didn't go out and party on the weekends. I didn't try to date or do anything. But I was planning. I was conspiring at home on my laptop. I was on carecure.com reading about sexuality and disability and spinal cord injury. I was reading experiences of like other people who had moved out and who were dating, and how people were living independently and what that looked like. And I was reading experiences of people going to college and stuff. And I was trying to figure out like, okay, how can I do this? And I conspired on my own for a couple of years, and then I clued my parents into my plans, and we kind of went at it like a team effort. And then I didn't move out. I moved out August 15th, 2013, baby.
And I,
My
and
mom.
I think you're going to answer Leon's question. How did you find your identity, the awesome person you are now? But, is that where you finally found your identity when you moved out?
I started to first couple of years after after high school. I went to a junior college, and I would hop on the bus at 6:30 in the morning, and I wouldn't come home until like 7:30 or 8 at night, and
Wow.
I would be out all day. And I was able to like self cath, and I know a couple times like I had an accident during the day. I'd call my dad. He'd like come and pick me up, but I was like an hour away from home, and I started flapping my wings. I found kind of a friend group, and like um, I started living. I started transitioning to this like kind of like adult life. Like I said, started flapping my wings a little bit. That's really when I started discovering my identity, my social identity, and also just kind of started embracing my disability a little bit more. Not that I didn't before, but in a different way. Like I kind of started wearing it on my sleeve. Like I wasn't afraid to talk about it. I wasn't really ashamed about it, or I mean, maybe I did have some conflicting feelings sometimes, but
Yeah.
not as much as I did when I was like going through my teenage years and kind of figuring out who Tom was. And I don't know, then I moved out, and I remember my mom driving me down to Southern California, and we had like a caravan. It was like two cars and this whole thing. And I remember talking to my mom. I was like, and it was like the sun was coming up. We were like driving. It was like dawn, and we were just having this conversation about growing up. I was like, you're gonna come back in 6 months. Like, you're not even gonna recognize me. I said, I'm gonna become Tom version 2.0. was like, I can feel it. I'm changing. I'm growing up. I was like, I'm going down here. I didn't know anybody. I mean, seriously, I moved down here. I didn't know a single soul. I didn't have any friends down here. I didn't have any family super close by, and I was ready to just kind of start fresh, like start with my new identity. And I've always been the same Tom, like not so much has changed, but I really did kind of put myself out there a lot more. I got a lot more outgoing, started kind of socializing in a different way. And I also told myself, I was like, I had a lot of anxiety and stress about going out with friends even and stuff when I was living at home. And I would always play this what if game, like what if this happened? What if that happened? What if? And I told myself, I was like, if you ask yourself that question, what if? That means you got to do it. Like you can't say no. If you're questioning it, the answer is always yes. And I kind of did have that mentality. Like I started going out every Friday. Like I made some friends. I started discovering kind of my adult identity. Started dating. I started going crazy.
How
In a
how
good
old
way.
were you when you moved out?
20,
20. Yeah.
20, and that's what I did for like 6 or 7 years. I went to school. I partied. I dated. Um, I I went wild in a good way.
Yeah.
But I also wasn't taking care of my body too much. Um, I was going to school like crazy. I would wake up early, 6:30, with my caregiver, do my care, go to school, and I'd stay at the library, or I'd go out till like 12, 1 o'clock in the morning. On Friday night, I'd go out to my buddy Juan's and we'd drink like crazy. And I would pass out at his apartment, tilted back in my chair, leaned up against the wall with a pillow shoved behind my head. And then I wake up at 5 o'clock, catch the bus so that I can make it back home in time for my caregiver who is showing up again at 6:30, and just crazy stuff like that. And it was so fun, and it was like so transformative for me, and like I just realized how normal I was and how able I was to kind of live this life I had always kind of dreamed about and envisioned, which is like going to college and partying and you know like one night stands and just like crazy shit. And then 26, 27 rolled around, and my body changed again. It was always kind of difficult to manage my health and stuff, bladder infections and dysreflexia and just like bowel program, things like that. Living on my own, it's been a lot of work from day one, and that really hasn't slowed down. But then my shoulders started hurting like every day, like all the time. Like my neck started hurting, like my
Mhm.
back, like my upper back where I could feel, like started having bladder issues and not really infections and stuff, but um, I got a bladder stone for the first time in my life. That was really intense, really painful, and while at the same time my body's kind of been changing too, meaning like my quadriplegic body. Like I've gotten incredibly more sensitive. Like my bladder is super sensitive. Like same with my doing my bowel care and stuff. Like got a little bit more difficult. It's changed. Like I've had to change my routine and tackle changing my routine and stuff. Chronic pain. Like I'm in pain every day. Like I wish I wasn't, but if it's not my wrists, if it's not my shoulders, my neck, or my back, it's my bladder. It's something else, and if it's not one of them, sometimes it's all of them all together. And I've been tackling that. I've been paralyzed for now, like I said, going on 27 years. Like
Yeah.
my body's changed a lot. Like I'm shaped funny. Gravity's taken its toll. Like my legs are super atrophied. Like my skin has changed. Like my skin is not the same kind of strong, tough skin that it's been my whole life. Like it's weaker. Um,
Thinner, thinner,
it's thick,
just getting thinner.
like on parts of my body where I've atrophied more severely. Like not only does it look fucking weird, but it's also like a sketchy part of my body. Like I've had skin issues. Like I've had small little wounds and stuff, things that I've never really ever dealt with my whole
Yeah,
life.
I
And
and I think I hear that a lot is, or and for my case too, it was like around that same time, all of a sudden little things started happening, a little more
Yeah.
pain in the legs, a little more phantom pain, a little more, and it was like spasms. Like I never had spasms for the first 15, 20 years. I was like, and it would seem like after 20, that's when, you know,
Yeah.
it just blew up. And it sounds like that's the way it's going for you. And Leon said it, life as a quad is hard on the body and mind, just like, after a certain time, it just like everything becomes what is in store for me today with my quadriplegic,
Yeah.
yeah, or uh, touching my legs. In the morning, somebody touches my legs in the morning, I just have to like hold everything because they're just going to go crazy. And it's just like it goes all the way through my toes up to my, gut. And it's like, oh. But do you have that, Robert, being, 50 years plus?
Well, for me, because me being a para, I've never been spastic at all, and so my atrophy occurred really, pretty quickly with my legs and my butt. I mean, there's nowadays, I mean, my skin, like Tom was saying, your skin and my skin is just really thin, and I got to be careful with shearing and stuff like that. But there's no muscle left, and so I kind of been more or less keeping an eye on my, for any wounds because a couple months ago I started to get a little bit of a skin breakdown, redness, and all that, and I kind of freaked out and stayed off it for a couple weeks, and it turned out okay. But for me right now, I think I was okay up until about my mid 50s, maybe late 50s, when I started. I mean, I've always had shoulder issues, but no one ever really talked to me about it. Um, because my shoulder damage is primarily from getting up with crutches, that hyperextension thing. And yeah, I used the wheelchair and all that, but I think primarily my damage on my shoulders was the crutches. And I didn't plan. I mean, I didn't say, oh, I need to do this and this and that. I just, if I could still do it, I was doing it. And if I had to do some type of reach and twist my arm and all that to do a transfer to pull myself into something, if it didn't hurt and I could do it, I would do it. I wasn't saying, oh, I'm tweaking my shoulders, I'm doing this. So um, hindsight, yeah, I wish I would pay more attention to it and take care of my body, but I didn't. I didn't look down the road.
And in your part, geez, my dogs are going crazy. But for you, Tom, with that shoulder pain, I think a lot of us think that it's going to be from the pushing, right? But really, it's from
Every,
core.
everything else, man. Yeah.
If you ever watch Tom, especially at a party, everything is with his arms and his elbows on those
Mhm.
arm. Take away your armrests, Tom, and what do we got? Probably Tom on the floor, right?
yeah, very, very unstable Tom. Like I can balance for a minute, but you guys always see me kind of using my stability. Like, and this is like tilted back like 20 or 30 degrees, where
Yeah.
like I can like sit very easily and functionally at a table and stuff with like my elbows up. But if I tilt down flat, like I have to brace because I don't wear a chest strap or anything. And if you
Yeah.
just like
Yeah.
two fingers push me forward, like, oh, I'm falling, you know? And I'd use my arms for everything, like everything, anything. Like, I mean, they replaced my legs. Like when my legs move, I use my arms to move them. Like I'm picking up, 100 pounds of dead weight every morning, flopping them in and out of my bed to my chair, and then back in my bed at night. Like all my transfers, everything I do, the way of feeding myself, drinking, dressing, moving, bowel care, bladder care. It's all my arms. It's all my shoulders. It's mainly
Yeah.
like my wrists and my shoulders and my back muscles and my chest muscle. Um,
And
you know,
I can understand that because I understand how you do function with your elbows and moving things around, and it all lays on your shoulders. Now the same thing I noticed with Bobby and Sean being quads that are in manual chairs. So I see Bobby pushing lots of times. I know he doesn't have the power assist or anything like that, and so I can imagine what his shoulders are. Same thing with Sean. I mean, I watch Sean and you guys and Sean's transfers and stuff like that. So what about your guys' impact on the shoulders? I mean, I know we're turning this towards just shoulder injury, but I mean, it's so damaging as the years go on by. And one of the facts of aging with a disability is shoulder damage. So, I mean, what do you guys? How do you see it that way in terms of your shoulder longevity right now?
Take it away, Shawn.
Yeah, I did actually start thinking about shoulder longevity probably like 10 years ago or so or more, because I was using the emotions for quite a while now, for probably 15 years now, which are power assist wheels. Um, but that's also because I love to push in the rugby chair as well. So like I do extra pushing and wearing out my shoulders like for recreation and exercise. So I feel like the power assist option for me is a good option to prolong some longevity. But I have a ton of shoulder pain still, and from I do transfers and stuff, and my transfers, I'm not sure. In my head, I feel like they actually are less stressful on my shoulders because I use a little bit of like a pivot motion, and I'm only really pushing with the one. I don't know, but I do get quite a bit of shoulder pain if I'm pushing around like a lot in the day and I'm doing a lot of transfers. I hurt pretty much
Yeah.
everywhere, like my shoulders, arms, and I get also besides the shoulders, I have a ton of like tendonitis in my elbows, especially my right elbow. But like, and that it hurts in the elbow sometimes from pushing. Um, and actually, I have that in my wrist as well. That one's more on my left wrist, which is from skating, I think, back in my day. I think I had fractured this one a few times, and it's just not a
Yeah.
Not the same.
Is your guys' body shape changing?
Yeah.
shape,
Yeah.
you said?
Yeah. Mine for a long time.
Yeah, I mean,
Uh,
like the chest, obviously we all get the quad gut and that beautiful thing. So it's like, I'm always thinking like, God, I got to lose weight, but I know I'm skinny as, as not as skinny as, Mr. Fluke here, but yeah, and he doesn't even get the quad bill in.
are your
This
legs
is,
contractured? Do you guys have any scoliosis that has developed, or you're trying to mitigate or anything like that? Like, for me,
Arthritis.
um, my shoulders like to be at uneven levels. I curve like a question mark. Gravity has kind of sunk me down a little bit. So like my tailbone, like my coccyx, is very like on the surface, just because like gravity's just kind of shrunk me down, and like that's been a side effect of it. My legs are surprisingly not as contractured as like my doctors are always kind of shocked, like, how are your leg contractions not worse? But they are contraction, like I do have contractions a little bit, meaning like they extend pretty far but not quite all the way. um, I got elbow contractures. I've had those since I was young, um, and they haven't really gotten worse because I use my arms so much and constantly like extending them. But that's like one of the things that does plague my mind a lot is like, damn Tom, you're shaped fucking funny, bro. Like, and you just keep getting more out of whack. Like,
yeah. I want to get to the chat real quick just for a second. Andrew is in an accessible hotel room on the 8th floor, and he's asked twice, but is it hot on the 8th floor? I mean, yeah, if there's a fire, obviously we always think, what the hell? You should check the fire escapes. Sometimes they have something where someone can take you down easily on each floor, like a, a carry of some sort. So you might want to look in there and see if that's there. But I never like being on the first floor anyway, because when you're on the first floor, people can get, I think the outside world can get to you easier. That's just me when I'm, not in a familiar place. But,
I love being high up. I love the perspective and the advantage of like being on a balcony and looking down on the top of a
Yeah.
building.
Yeah.
But that's just
Yeah.
me. So I'm
Same
grateful
here.
that they have accessible rooms higher up, just because I like being high up. I think it's kind of fun to like wake up in the morning and like look out, like, and see like a nice vantage. But
Yeah.
that's just me. I do understand kind of the safety concerns, but I've been on the first floor of a hotel and I've been on the top floor of a hotel, and I'll take the
Top
top floor
floor.
any.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Well, it's necessary to be kind of familiar with with, if you're in a room that's up above, in case of fire, because I know for me, when I was working in Utah, I was like on the 21st floor of my office and stuff like that. So they would have a procedure there and they would, we'd have to go through drills and things like that. And they always told me to go, of course, this was a high rise type thing, but they would tell me to go to the stairwell and stay within that stairwell because there's noted that there's somebody that's going to need assistance. And they go, you just wait there because the stairways or stairwells, whatever, are usually fire safety type thing
Yeah,
for a
fire.
while. So
Yeah.
I was
so that
actually
someone will
also
come and get me. They go, you just stay there, and wait. But I don't know if I had the patience. If I would have the
Yeah.
patience, I'd start crawling down or whatever I had to do.
I was gonna also mention Tom mentioned the balcony. I know I don't think it's a standard, but I know a lot of hotels for accessible rooms they do put a balcony if it's above the first floor because that's where you're gonna get rescued from in a fire like an
Okay,
emergency.
okay,
You go to the
that makes
balcony
sense.
and they'll be able
I,
to get you from the outside the fire department. So that is
and both make sense. And, always notifying, like, obviously make note that I'm in a chair, that if you're putting me on the 8th floor, I'm in a chair,
Yeah,
can't get down.
yeah.
So,
Don't forget about me.
and something Leon said real quick, he has damage from his chin from running chin control. You're thinking like, wow, you're not using your shoulders, but that chin. And I have another friend of mine who uses sip and puff, and talking to him about 6 months ago, he was just saying, I'm having a lot of lockjaw and like he can, barely eat because it's so painful from all the years of his, just constantly sipping and puffing. Dominic is in our chat. I saw you, Dominic. What's up, my good friend? Let us know. Do you have any pain in in that area of your mouth from those years of using your chin control? Would be interesting to hear. So it doesn't even have to be from pushing or hanging on for dear life in your power chair, but it can also be right there in your chin.
Shout out our buddy Tony. Thanks for joining us, dude. And happy anniversary. I hope you're having a good day. I know it can be kind of a tough one and a weird one. I always not really sure, like, should I be sad or like happy? Should I celebrate? Should I not do anything? But I really do hope you're having a good day. Appreciate you joining us, and I hope you're celebrating being alive, being here.
It's
Um,
my
having all,
anniversary. It's my anniversary.
Yeah.
having all the
Well, we
functions
call
that
it,
you got.
what do we call it? Life birthday? Life
Yeah, our
birthday.
life day,
life.
our life day.
Yeah. So
Um,
tell us how many
yeah,
years, Tony, but congrats.
this is a really important thing I want to talk about. Make sure we touch on because time just seems to slip away with some of these conversations, and I know it's something that me and Sean have particularly talked about. So I'm going to touch on it for a second, and then we'll toss it over to Sean and get your
Yeah.
perspective. And you guys, are injuries changing over time? Um, as we age, every spinal cord injury is different. I mean, if you sever your spinal cord and you're totally complete below a particular level, I think a lot of this stuff that we've touched on in terms of like wear and tear, body changing over time and stuff, maybe facing some of these things like that. But for incomplete injuries, especially, this is a conversation that we've had. Is our sensory, our motor function changing over time potentially, and namely growing more sensitive through like neuropathy, nerve pain, nerve sensitivity, bladder sensitivity, experiences changing like sensitivity during bowel care and things like that. I think it's something most of us have experienced in some way, shape, or form. My my body's changed. Like my sensitivity, my sensory perception has changed a lot. In the last couple of years, I started sweating, which I never sweated before, which is like kind of a trip. Like when I get dysreflexic, like I've woken up in a puddle, like I've woken up like dripping, and I've never even squeezed out a drop before off my face, and all of a sudden now like I'm dripping off my face, and that was really kind of a trip for me. It kind of sucks too. Like I kind of wish I didn't have it because sweating
Yeah,
is
you're
not.
like, damn it, now I
I
might smell.
I end up sticky and gross. Exactly, dude. I'm like, yo, this is not awesome. I need a shower, and I can't even get one because it's not shower time yet. Uh, but also bladder sensitivity, hypersensitivity of my bladder, be it just catheterizing and like feeling the catheter, and like especially when I have an infection or something, but also when I have an infection or something going on like a bladder stone, my bladder seems to talk to me a lot more, and not just talk, but like scream and anger and agony and like discomfort and be like, bro, something's going on, take care of us. And like I'm like fighting off dysreflexia, fighting off like neuropathy and like these nerve feelings that like are so intense. I just like want to clot my abdomen and like just like do something to like stop it from happening. And I want to talk about it. We talked about it at group a couple times, and I talked about it with some other quads, but it's something that I'm experiencing. And yeah, I'm incomplete. I'm C6 incompletely on. So like I do have bladder sensation. I have my whole life. Um, in the way like I can tell when my bladder's full, but now that's even changing. And like I've always been super thankful for like the sensitivity that I have, because it indicates when I do have to cath. It tells me when something's wrong. Like it's a lot of good information, but now it's almost debilitating. Like I'm like, okay, I know what's going on. Like stop torturing me so that I can take care of it. God damn it. Like Sean, have you experienced that at all, dude?
Yeah, that's what I know. We have talked about that before, and yeah, that's what I've had a way increase, especially over the last years. It seems to be increasing my overall body sensitivity, my like nerve pain, nerve sensation. Um, like my bladder, for one, also seems just super sensitive. Like it has been before, like, but it just seems to be getting worse. And now I feel like I feel it more. Like it used to just spasm, and I'd get dysreflexic, and I'd pee, and it would just be like just a mess. But now it's like I still get dysreflexic. I still do pee a little bit, but even when I'm not peeing, I'm getting the AD, and it just feels like my whole abdomen just hurts. Like it's not just like, my bladder. It's like literally my whole stomach, my entire abdomen region, like just constant, like it feels like it's like cramping, like I guess, like through my whole, like it's just these tight, um, it's just really uncomfortable. And then even like today, I've been having these weird, like, as I'm pushing, like I'm just getting like ab crunch spasms. Like my ab is just like, and like it'll just kind of pull me forward for a second, like push me back for a second. Like it's just like these little crunches, and all that stuff is new and increasing, and just kind of continues to change. And like just I don't even know, but even like my like sensitivity to like after I eat and like gas and stuff, I feel like my intestinal, like really anything, my whole bladder, bowel, stomach region, like I feel like is so sensitive now, and I'm constantly having like just nerve like pains and cramping type pains. It's hard to
And,
It's like,
and I'll get just like almost just like neuropathy. Like it's not quite painful, but it's not comfortable either. Like right at my abdomen, right at my waist. Now I start to lose sensation about like here, like pretty high up on my chest, but I lose like full sensory right about my abdomen, like little like my waistline. And now like I don't know, it's like all this feeling, and it's not quite pain. It's not like it's itchy or anything either, but it's just like this nerve sensation, and I don't know what to do about it. Like the only thing that seems to like help is almost like massage the area to like almost like trigger the nerve sensation in a more significant way, and then I'll get a little bit of respite and relief from it for a few minutes, and then it's back. And it's like, what is going on? Like I'll cath, like I won't have to do my bowel program or anything, but it's just like nerves, something sensory, like nerve stuff. And I've talked to my physiatrist about it, and that's what he's explained it as. He was like, it's just neuropathy, like it's your nerves talking and communicating, but the signals and the way that they're processed are not normal. So what you're feeling is non-normal sensory, like information from your nerves, but your spine's not transmitting it the right way, and your brain's not quite processing it the right way. There's medication for it. There's baclofen and gabapentin, Gabapentin is like a big one that they give you for neuropathy and like nerve related discomfort and pain. But I'm not currently on any of those. Like, it's nothing that's debilitating. I don't even do any painkillers. Like, have no pain medication that I take. Like, I take Advil sometimes, or what? Yeah, Advil, just like to help reduce inflammation, because like inflammation can be a big trigger for my nerve pain. Um, and that's pretty much it. I'm not against pain pills or anything like that. I think anybody should find whatever way whatever gives them relief, as long as the side effects of whatever that is aren't any worse than whatever you're experiencing. I say go for it. I've kind of taken the route of like rehab again. Like I'm going through rehab for the second time in my injury, like physical therapy, occupational therapy. I got a physiatrist, like a spinal cord injury doctor that I've been trying to see very regularly for the last couple of years to talk to him about this stuff, to one, keep track of it in my medical records, to try to track some of these changes. So if they do become more severe, more extreme, like I have a record of what's been going on that goes back a few years at least. And yeah, just trying to rehabilitate here 27 years later in my injury. And the pushback from my healthcare has been really disappointing and honestly fucking disgusting. Because they're just basically like, just get old and die, bro. What do you mean you're trying to rehab 27 years later? Like, we'll give you rehab at the beginning of your injury, but pretty much that's it. Like, now you're kind of on your own, bro. And I've been really trying to fight for my right to rehabilitation and to pain management that's not just taking a bunch of pills, or like hopping on, more drugs. I'm trying to just go about it in like a really healthy way, um, and just track everything that's changing over this, over time. But it's been really difficult, and my healthcare, my healthcare team that's supposed to be on my side, helping me, I feel like is just wanting me to die so that I don't have to bother them anymore with my healthcare needs, which
Yeah,
is really
in the chat, Tony had some I want to bring up, but I want to get back to you, Shawn, a little bit. You were injured at 20, you're 40 now, so 2040, obviously. What was it like your first 20 years? And I know, if I'm not mistaken, you didn't get your catheter, your suprapubic, until later on, 5 years after your injury or something like that.
No, it was like about a year into it.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah, I did try in the beginning. I tried to use just like a condom catheters, and then I tried because I had met Mike DeYoung, and like he was able to intermittent cath, and he gave me like a little plastic like tool thing from Coloplast to try. I was unsuccessful with that as well. So eventually, I did talk to you, Bobby, and I talked to you early on, and then I guess I think I talked to you a little later and got some extra advice and tips, and ended up going with the suprapubic. I think it was about just about a year into my injury. So.
Yeah, I wonder, have you ever talked to your urologist about what Tom has? Like, do you think that would make life easier, or?
Maybe now I know I am like a little bit better with like just using my hands and function than I was in the first year, like to handle a catheter, but for now, like if I continue to have issues, which I have been having issues with the catheter, and I'm actually planning to change catheters on this next change to a silicone one finally from the latex, because the latex is like accumulating, the sediment is like forming like crystals on my catheter, so every time it gets pulled out, it's like basically tearing me up to come out.
Man, yikes.
I'm getting that too now.
funny thing about the Mitrofanoff procedure is they don't very commonly do them for adults. It's majority done to adolescents. I don't know the exact reason why, but I know even like I got mine at 14 years old. I was late. I was late getting it. Like they
Hmm.
almost didn't want to do it because I was so old. Again, I don't know the exact reason why. I'd really love to talk to a urologist that does the procedure and maybe get some more information as to
Yeah,
why. Because I've worked with a lot of adults who are like, "Yo, that seems awesome. Like I'd love to consider getting it." And I do know that like I'm not the youngest person to get it, but for some reason it's mostly done to adolescents, and I'm talking like pretty young, like under 10 years old. So I don't know. I don't know. It's
yeah,
interesting.
and maybe that might have changed a little, Tom, because I know somebody who just got it after 20 years of being injured,
Okay,
and
that's cool. That's good to know.
went to that, and I was like, "Well, tell me how it goes." And I know she's a couple years older than I am, so maybe it has changed a little. And I think Leon, both myself and um, Shawn are using that all silicone the silver alloy catheter.
Well, that's it. I'm trying the silicone one next time. Last time I tried a silicone catheter was over 10 years ago, and they were really, really rigid. And I literally just got AD and peed on myself the entire time I had it. I tried it for a few days, so it'll be a different change. That's why I've used these straight latex ones for pretty much the entirety of my injury, because they
Mhm.
were softer, more pliable, and with my sensitive bladder, they seemed to work. But the
Yeah.
doctor showed me one of the newer silicone ones. It is a lot softer silicone. It's very pliable, and it seems like it should work. So I have my hopes up for my next change.
With your aging, and Tom said it earlier about skin. Skin is a huge thing that starts happening is changing. If you don't already have the shoulder pain and all the other stuff, but with your skin, I mean, if you meet Shawn in person, he can hide behind a flagpole. He's that skinny. And as your skin changed, I know you had a little redness like a year ago where it could have gone south on you, but you took care of it and you did right. But if you're like me, your back is torn up and brown and doesn't look the same. But how's your skin, and is that changing much on you being
Uh,
so thin?
yeah, I have started to notice my skin seems a little bit, I don't know, thinner, whatever, a little weaker now as I'm older or getting, aging. And I did have a minor pressure sore, yeah, last, I think, yeah, end of last summer. But yeah, that has been something I've been way more conscious of. And my spine is definitely something I worry about that sometimes more than my butt, because my whole spine is just that brown calloused material, like skin now, and it's like it'll even Leo is keeping an eye on it for me, but like I will sometimes, especially if I'm getting really low and doing that constantly in the day, I will rub it a little raw at the top, like right at
Yeah.
the top of my backrest there, and it will kind of start to break down that top layer of skin. Uh, so I do like that. That scares me more than a lot of things. But my butt, I've sat on the Rojo hybrid cushion, like it was the Nexus. Now it's just called the hybrid, and that thing has kept my butt pretty well made like safe and clear as long as I keep air in the cushion. So
Yeah, I hear you. And any other, aging kind of stuff that comes along that you've noticed now that you've hit the 20 mark?
um besides the nerve pain and stuff, I do have just a lot more aches and pains. Like even when I'm not pushing and stuff, my neck has always hurt. I've always had pretty bad neck pain, but I just now sometimes it is it can get really bad, and it's all the way down my shoulders. And like I said, even like I'll get like the joints and stuff, like my elbows and things would just like I get just like those I feel like they're just like the old man aches and pains now. Just like-
Yeah. And
Definitely.
earlier on, and Tony, hopefully you're still here and give us a little more insight, but he was telling us that he had a searing, and I'm not going to say the full word. I know Tom is a lot more educated than I am. He can probably pronounce the word, but and I've heard of it, and I've had a friend have it before, but it's, if I'm not mistaken, it is like where I guess fluid gets into your spinal cord and then causes like nerve damage. And he had two surgeries to try to correct it in 2016. Um, it was successful, but it took a lot of his mobility and sensation because obviously you're dealing with the nerves around that area. And, it's something, I don't know if anyone's heard it or your doctors have told you about it, but it it's like a 50-50 in quads that you usually get it.
Well, that's going to be a fun one to think about. I do appreciate I appreciate the education on it. I mean, it's always better to be in the know. It's always better to be aware. um, One thing I will say, I think it's super important for anybody to know tackling this whole like aging with disability thing is like change is inevitable. Change is absolutely inevitable, in not just in your environment and in your life, but your body too. Being open and willing to accept change, I think, is paramount to success. We are defined by how we handle and process change, but when I say this, I mean like expect your bowel program to change at some point. I'm on my third style of bowel program in my life because my body's changed to such a degree that the other two just weren't working. And I had to kind of tackle it from square one again and figure out like a new bowel care routine that one is healthier for me and worked better for me. And same with my bladder stuff. Like I went for intermittent cathing through my urethra for a number of years to having like a Foley in my urethra for a couple of years to having the Mitrofanol procedure and doing intermittent catheterization through the stoma in my abdomen. And my bladder has changed a lot in that time. It's even changed now in the way that I manage it, take care of it. Same with my bowel care and my skin care and every kind of care. And the reason I'm as healthy as I am and as functional as I am and as independent as I am is because I've been open and perceptive to the necessary changes that I had to make in order to take care of myself to, the best of my ability and in the most effective way possible. It can be extremely freaking hard to change your bowel program. It can feel impossible to have to get a surgery and change the way that you've been peeing for your whole life and to start at square one again and learn this whole thing, especially like as you get older and things are even harder. But I'm telling you, it is just essential to success in aging and growing up as being open, willing to these changes and like perceptive to them and realize sometimes the necessity of making a big significant change. I am not going to say it's easy. I'm not going to say it's not going to be quick and simple because it's actually not. It's going to take a long time. It's going to be super fucking hard. It's going to be like it's going to be tough, but
It
you
is.
are
I'm telling you
possible.
that now. It is.
You will be able to do it. You will be able to do it successfully. And I'm telling you, like, if you can't see the light right now, just keep on after it. The light will present itself. It's just a necessary change. And it's not just disabled people. Like, my dad's going through it right now with accepting some harsh realities of growing up and aging just with his normal body and, changing how he does things and, the way he does things and, the gusto in which he would just go about a physical activity. It's just essential. It's just a part of growing up for anybody. Um, Not letting these significant changes in your life debilitate you mentally, not letting not being so stuck in your ways that you're not able and willing to change. um, like being open and accepting of a reality. You know, and I mean, I'll be vulnerable and talk about one that I'm really super, super scared about. Is the prospect of maybe having to switch over to colostomy bag at some point. I'm super worried about my bowel care and the
Yeah.
effectiveness of it and the ease in which I can manage it and stuff. And honestly, like my whole life, I've been like, I will never ever get a colostomy bag. Like that's where I draw the line. But what if that's what I need? What if it's like the simplest and most effective and the healthiest way to manage my bowel care? And what
Yep.
if that's the road that I have to cross at some point?
Yeah.
I bet I can be open and willing to, you know, the idea of going through it and
Yeah.
learning how to
Yeah.
manage it and, not being embarrassed by it or, dealing with the dignity stuff that's involved with it, like, um, I've had to deal with some of that stuff, even with my current bowel care situation and dealing with incontinence and using like having to wear briefs and stuff for the first time and just things like that. Like, um, be open to change, understand that it's tough, know that it's hard and it might not be the easiest thing to change and adapt, but it's something that we all have to do in order to be successful in this aging and changing process. We all metamorphosize. We all like come out of our cocoon and become a butterfly, and then our wings get weak, and our um, outer shell gets weaker, and stuff. And we got to metamorphosis again. We got to change again. Like it's just what we got to do.
Yeah.
So
And,
I don't.
don't let, I know here we're talking, we got 16 people, so make sure you hit that like button, hopefully. But don't let it consume you, just know that obviously you're going to have to see a few more doctors. What you said, Tom, absolutely right with the bowel program. And Sean said it too. His stomach is totally changed and it's
Yep.
not the
Not the
same.
same. Yep.
I got to a point where, I didn't want to poop. I mean, all I felt like is I had to poop, but nothing would come out. And, I was afraid to eat and I just was so uncomfortable. And I was at an event that I was running, one of the sporting events. And, you know, the whole time people are talking to me and I don't know if I even heard anybody speaking. And
Yeah.
'cause in my head, I'm like, I want to leave. I want to leave. I want to go home. I want to go home. I just want to lay down. I'm so uncomfortable. I can't let this consume me. And that's why I, turned over to, a new thing, lease on my life with getting a colostomy. And let us know in the chat if you guys had to change because of age too. And you're right, Tom. It is, I was like, oh my God. And, at first, I know our good
But it's
friend Steve was in the chat, but he asked me earlier about, now that it's summer and, people might be able to see this. And, I said, well, at first I was, and I got the belt and hit everything. And now, I don't even mind. Like, I can get on this show. I showed it before, but I don't even care now. Like, nope, there it is. There it is. I don't care, Um, even my
I want
wife will be
I
surprised. My
want to
shirt.
nuzzle. I want to nuzzle
but
right
but
into that quad belly. Let me tell you, it looks comfy.
but
With
Bobby,
my head.
all kidding aside, it did make your life, the quality of life, better for you, right? With the colostomy bag,
uh,
right? I mean,
to a
it
point where,
improved, right?
yeah, to a point where I just said, damn it, why didn't I do that
Yeah.
much sooner? Like, only in the sense of traveling,
Yeah.
um, and some things of like saving a little bit of time. But really, it was the first time I went on a trip again, I was like,
Yeah.
hallelujah.
Something you
You
don't
didn't
have to
even have
worry
to think
about.
about it. Yeah, didn't have to think about a nurse or bringing all this
Yeah.
equipment and figuring out 2 hours of my time to do my bowel care from, start to finish. And it was just a blessing. So, yeah.
Yeah. No,
and
I
and
hear you on
and,
that.
and, and the colostomy is just an example. Like I really just meant like I've just been feeling like I've encountered issues with my bladder and stuff, or like I've had so many issues like with my bowel management that like I'll get like so down and like so scared and like I'll think that like this is gonna be forever. Like shit, like I'm stuck with this for the rest of my fucking life. Like and that's just not the case, Like sometimes dramatic necessary changes have to come about, but like I just don't. If you are struggling, if your body has changed, and like the way you've been managing something for most of your paralyzed life is not working the way that it used to, just know that that's not necessarily the way it's going to be forever. Maybe you just have to find a new way to manage it. A different way of like solving and looking at the problem, and being at the beginning of that can just be very scary and
Well,
really, really hard mentally.
yeah, and this is the beauty of why Robert and I started this show because Tony, he's been talking about his Syrinx, and you know, he said here it wasn't something anybody gave me a heads up on. So something everybody should learn about a little bit because his was misdiagnosed, and now he has a shunt, which that's what I hear they do, and it seems to be draining properly. So that's good, Tony. But it's like these things with the colostomy to the catheters to the something that can go wrong inside your neck where fluid is starting to build up in a sac form and just cutting off everything. For me, somebody said it early, and I think it was Leon. Is scar tissue is a nasty thing, and the scar tissue I have in my neck is so bad, where I'm getting numbness that runs down my shoulder, until I do my stretches like this, and it's always to the right, and it gets rid of it right away. But when I went and had it MRI, he's like, "Oh, you have spinal stenosis. Your neck is a mess," because I didn't have surgery. And he's like, "If you would have taken care of this year one, it would have been great. Now we got a difficult problem." It's like,
Yeah.
oh, great. But hopefully we're educating you guys. I can't believe we're 10 minutes over. It went by fast, this hour, and you guys, thank you so much. And I think hopefully it seems like the chat got a lot out of it. And
Quick roundtable. Shawn, any advice you'd give someone who's maybe dealing with this whole agent with disability thing for the first time? Any quick fire advice that comes to mind that you'd give somebody, or any tips or tricks that come to mind immediately?
Don't be afraid to change, like Bobby was saying, or try things, because if something isn't working, don't keep doing it and being like just in pain and miserable.
Yeah.
If it's killing you, like make sure that you change something, try to do something new. And if you can't figure it out, yeah, make sure to see a doctor, talk to a friend, talk to a peer that might have a similar issue that's happening. But because that's what I was going to mention too. Quick mention because I almost was going to switch to a colostomy because I was having the same thing, Bobby. Like I was doing suppositories and I'd be in there for 4 hours, just miserable. Like it was just the worst thing. And then finally, I ended up trying the Parastene because another friend from rugby suggested it. Tried it, it actually worked, and I've been using that for a few years now. And that really did change my care and life at this point because I was like losing 3 to 4 days a week by just bowel care. So,
Yeah.
Bobby, quick advice. Go.
yeah, real quick. You might be using something that works now. And like what Shawn said, I was using the suppositories. Now I'm with the Parastene. The one thing is trying to recognize when something's not working anymore. It could be your chair, your cushion, your balance. So recognize those, figure them out sooner rather than later, because it will save you a lot of headaches if you can recognize the little things that are going on. Because nothing, it's like eating, let's just say, chicken every day. Eventually your body's going to be like, "Hey, you give me chicken one more day, man, I'm going to kick your ass." And you're not going to like it inside your stomach. And so, it definitely get in check with your body about some of the things that you use on a daily basis. If that's the same catheter or the same cushion, talk to your doctor about these things and see if you can recognize the problem instead of waiting on it and see if it will just get better, because it most likely it's not going to get better.
Bob, any quick advice?
Yeah, my thing is just be ready for change, and it's not necessarily any type of negative change. It's just change, adjusting. I've been at it now a long time, and what I'm running into is with my aging piece because I'm 70 now. Uh, we're outliving that prognosis and the diagnosis and all that stuff. So I'm experiencing things. Okay, I'm having prostate issues now, and there's a lot of things that the urologist doesn't know because there's studies out there. Um, they don't know the effects of intermittent cathing or anything like that with the prostate and what that does and all that. So, um, I'm kind of going through that now. But the change is inevitable. Like one of the viewers said out there, I don't know who it was, and it's change that you got to be open to because if you fight it, it's just going to just prolong. Any where it makes you feel like you're not accomplishing anything or your life is changing. Accept the change, embrace it, do what you got to do, like we've been doing. We figure it out. We whatever it takes, but just keep it still on a positive level in terms of how you're looking at what you need to do for yourself to keep independent, to have that longevity. So I'm still hanging around. I'm still here. I complain a little bit more about stuff now, but I keep plugging away.
You wouldn't be human if you didn't complain a little bit. Tom.
My,
Yeah.
my short, quick words are love your aging self. Remind yourself that you're aging like fine wine and not a sour grape. I know a couple of sour grapes out there. They certainly are sour, but majority of you are sweet, 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 beautiful, fine wine that's just getting sweeter over time, baby. So don't forget it. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Bob, you want to do our sponsors? We'll
Sure.
give you
Sure.
you're a guest, Tom, so we'll let.
So I'd like to thank our sponsors, Mobility Professionals and Urology Professionals. Mobility Professionals is a company that provides services here in Southern California for wheelchair, rehab equipment, and all the other DME needs. They're a great group of people, as I mentioned earlier in the show. Experts and make you feel part of the family, and they are embedded in our community. Urology Professionals is a national company, provides services throughout the country, and they'll help you with all your urological needs. So give them a call, contact them, tell them that you heard about them through uh, Live to Roll, and see if they can work with your insurance. And like I said, being part of their team and their family is absolutely a blessing. They are good people and understand. So check them out.
Yeah. What do we got coming up, Shawn?
Next week, um, we actually next week Hell Wells is off. He's still dealing with health injuries, but the following Monday he'll be back. And Tuesday we'll be back on again to do another great live show for you guys on 3:30 Tuesday. Every Tuesday, tune in. Tom did gaming last night. Make sure to check it out if you didn't. And he's gaming next Wednesday. Hop in on the stream and join. Say what's up. Try to get in on the game. Get some playing in. And then the following, actually Monday, next Thursday, actually, right now we don't have a scheduled show because it was rolling with the Golden Oldies, but it's the 4th of July next Thursday, so they are busy and have plans. So we'll see if we put something else together for a little quick 4th of July hangout or something. But right now we don't have anything next Thursday. But we also do, just to highlight all the shows, we have the Wheel Girl Talk coming up as well. The third Thursday of the month next month, and check out their last show if you didn't already. And of course, these guys are back every second and fourth Thursdays of the month. All right.
Sweet. Well, Shawn, Tom, thank you for joining.
Thank you very much.
I
Share
want
your
to say
story.
love you, Bobby. Bobby is like kind of my quad inspiration in terms of like aging with it. Seriously, like the way I look to him for like how he is managing some of this aging stuff because it's got a couple years on me and is someone to aspire to. So lots of love to you, Bobby, and you too, Bob. Appreciate
Thank
you
you.
guys for being
Thank
such
you.
a positive.
For having us on. To roll, everybody.
Dominic
All right.
said.